What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We already said this was going to happen, but here we are talking about it today. The Liberal candidate race. You remember when Justin Trudeau said that he intended to resign after a robust process to find a new leader for the Liberal Party? Well, we all knew from day one this meant that Mark Carney was being installed into becoming our next prime minister. Keep in mind that citizens haven't voted for this guy to be prime minister. He doesn't hold a seat as an MP. He can just waltz right in and just take the title. It's just handed to him. Kind of like somebody in Special Olympics. They just are given a medal for participating. It seems like more trickery is afoot as we get into what's happening with favored candidate Ruby Dala as we head into, again, the last weeks or week and a half, couple weeks of this leadership contest, we'll call it. If you look at what's happened with Crystia Freeland, if you look at Karina Gould, you'll notice that they're not really out there holding rallies. They're not pushing on social media for, hey, vote for me, I'm going to be your next prime minister. They're just occasionally running things in. And that is a very simple reason that they're not being as active as they should be. And that's because they're clearing the runway for Mark Carney to come in and say, oh, hello, I'm Charles Montgomery Burns, and I'm going to be your next prime minister. That's exactly what they're doing, is bringing in good old Mr. Burns. Look at Marty up north tweeting out here. They're setting the stage. Ruby surprised everyone by raising the entry fee and putting up a good fight. At the end of the day, the Liberals don't want her in the race. The Liberals are using a ranked ballot system for their vote, which often favors less popular candidates. This was the same reason that I pushed for this channel to encourage its viewers that if you don't have a party membership, now is the time to get one. It was free. Of course, now you can't. Their date has closed. But this ranked ballot system essentially makes it easier for Canadians to have a voice, to decide who is going to become title next prime minister, and who is going to run essentially against Pierre Poilievre in the next federal election. The ranked ballot is why Conservatives ended up with Scheer and O'Toole. That's a good point to mention. Popular candidate who is everyone's second choice is more likely to win than somebody who gets 40% of the first place votes. Anybody who said it was a waste of time to look into Liberal memberships clearly doesn't understand how a ranked ballot system works. But now you've got the Liberal Party questioning leadership candidate Ruby Dala over possible interference from India. Boy, doesn't this sound like Justin Trudeau's diversity, equity, and inclusion country, where everybody gets a fair shake? Keep in mind, Ruby Dala is Canadian-born. And she's being told, oh, now we're going to question India. They already did this with Chandra Era when they said, well, you don't speak French, you're not willing to learn French. Mark Carney can't speak French worth a damn. In fact, he's sitting here saying, oh, I'm brushing up on my French. Keep in mind, Mark Carney hasn't lived in Canada for 11 years. He holds 3 passports. Who does he have connections to? Who's interfering in our election other than India with Mark Carney? Oh, I know, the World Economic Forum, where he's basically a stakeholder. Unbelievable. This guy, the fact that the Liberals think that Canadians are this stupid to buy, oh, it's interference, oh, we should get her rid of her, and let it be known, there's very high chances Ruby's going to be removed before the vote comes through, so that it's simply Mark Carney, Crystia Freeland, or Karina Gould that people have to choose from. And again, pave the road for Mark Carney. He's being installed. This is alarming. And it's not because I want a Liberal to win. It's not because I'm voting for Liberals or like Liberals. But what this states is that we do not have free and fair elections in this country. There's no reason to have membership with any party if this is the point. And other channels have mentioned, look, parties are within their right to decide who is applicable, who is not applicable, who can run and who cannot. So then how is it by the people then? How is it the people's choice if this is the case? When you compare Ruby Dala, again, she on social media has been essentially another version of Pierre Poilievre. She's been trolling Mark Carney. She's been putting out memes, doing interviews with small to medium-sized YouTube channels. By the way, she had an amazing interview with Elevate Podcast. Not to say they're small by any means, but Elevate had a great interview with her. I reached out to her people, and we just couldn't find a good time to sit down and discuss things. But I would have liked to have had Ruby on the channel just for a standpoint to hear what she has to say. She did have some good talking points on Elevate. I would encourage everybody. Shout out to Elevate. Go watch what they had to do with Ruby Dala. Great interview. But when you see the presence that she offers, again, she raised the money. She's done a good job so far running her campaign. Well, here you've got good old Mr. Burns hanging out in Scarborough, because this is where they have to focus their votes. Now, I haven't run this picture through an AI verifier yet, because we all know how Mark Carney likes to do that. But what you see here, Scarborough is ready for government that works for them, that spends less and invests in their future. Scarborough is ready for change. I think I only see one or two white people in this entire image, aside from Mark Carney, for one. Not to say that that's a terrible thing. You know, as Jerry Seinfeld says, not that there's anything wrong with that. God, that was a terrible Seinfeld. But what you see here, what the trickery being given to you here, is the same as when like a realtor or somebody who's renting out a home will use a certain wide-angle lens to make a room look larger than it is, to deceive somebody that they're getting a larger space. Essentially, they do the reverse here. They crowd everyone in around Mark Carney to get these photos. Of course, you can see the majority of people in the back here are all press. You can see the large cameras. But here you see people holding up their camera phones. So if you count, aside from where the cameras start, which is right behind this gentleman, and right behind these people, you've got 1, 2, we'll say a third here with this small head poking out, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus these two down here is 10. 10 people crowded around Mark Carney, while the rest appear to be press, in order to make the room look full. I'd love to see Mark Carney showing an image of the room in a different perspective. In fact, if you look down here on this gentleman's phone, if this is not AI generated, which again, I don't believe it is, but that's a stretch with the liberals. It looks a lot less full from this side, from this image. Proving the point again. They're pushing the room forward. This government that's coming in wants division. They want people to say, orange man bad. That's why the liberals are trying to regain their ground, even in Scarborough. That's why they're pushing for it. It's important to note that the media has been assisting them this entire time to try and get their votes, to try and recuperate their votes. Why? Well, Pierre Poilievre has said he's going to defund a lot of the media grants that go out to government funded propaganda networks like the CBC. So they're fighting for their jobs. What you're going to see right now is a push for Mark Carney, and when Mark Carney gets in, because he will get in, you're going to see this whole, we're going to fight Trump, 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 Trump. All they're going to talk about is Trump until an election is held. Here's why. New poll says that 27% of Canadians view the United States as an enemy of the country. Does it help if I... No, it doesn't help if I go that way, does it? There we go. Actually, that does help. New poll suggests more than a quarter of Canadians, now this is a poll out of Ottawa, keep in mind, that a quarter of Canadians, 27%, now see the United States as an enemy country, while the other 30% still say they consider the U.S. an ally. Another 27% of respondents to the Ledger of the survey say they consider the United States to be a neutral country. The poll comes as U.S. Donald Trump threatens to impose economically devastating tariffs, yada, yada, yada. The poll was conducted between February 14th and 17th and surveyed 1,500 Canadians and 1,000 Americans. Again, not a very robust poll. But this is typically why I say you don't listen to polls. You don't listen to the results of polls. It's a very small demographic of people, and they usually focus these polls in areas that they want to prove their talking points. They want to get the results that they're looking for. This is why I've said you shouldn't believe the fake generated polls that are coming out stating that Pierre Poilievre is losing drastically to Mark Carney. It says here it was also conducted online. It can't be assigned a margin of error, apparently. You're telling me that online polls can't be manipulated? Give me a break. Sebastian Dallaire, Ledger's executive vice president for Eastern Canada, said he was surprised, quote, to see Canadians so divided on that front when the United States has been an ally for such a long period and strong ally at that. Well, that's because Captain Tampon came in while he was tweeting out that he's damn proud of his country at a hockey game this weekend, while the majority of people in the crowds booed the American national anthem. He has sowed division through his Buy Canadian, Team Canada. We're all in this together approach, just like the pandemic. This government is sowing this division for their benefit in the next federal election. He says the responses basically speak to the level of animosity that we feel right now in Canada, and they're triggering that kind of a broader rally around the flag effect in the aspects of our lives. Only 1% of Americans told Ledger that they consider Canada an enemy country, while 56% said they view Canada as an ally. Very different on the American side. An overwhelming majority of Canadians dislike Trump. That right there is what this is all about. And this is what feeds into the next federal election. And this is also why Pierre Poilievre is saying what he's saying about Donald Trump. And it's because 74% of respondents said they have an unfavorable view of U.S. President Donald Trump. And I can vouch for that. Last night on stream, I wore my Donald Trump hat with the Donald Trump hair, and I seen in the comments people saying, you're a traitor, you're wearing a Donald Trump hat. What's that all about? It's a joke. I happen to like what Donald Trump does. I like the trolling, I like the memes. But what's happening here is clear Trump derangement syndrome. And politicians are going to be using this to their benefit when it comes to the next federal election. I honestly think that what Pierre should do, and this is my personal opinion, is flip and start supporting Trump and see what the Trump effect has on our federal election, despite this statistic. But this is why the Liberals are pushing this. 74% of respondents have an unfavorable view. It's hard to get more consensual results when you ask a question like this, they say. 7% said they don't know enough about Trump to offer an opinion, while only 13% overall said they had favorable opinion of him. Low numbers. Low numbers. That number is higher among Conservative Party supporters. 27% of them said they had a favorable view of Trump. But again, that's only 27%. Compared to only 5 and 7% of Liberal NDP supporters, respectively. So, of course, more left-leaning people are going to have Trump derangement syndrome. They're not going to like him. But this is the push, and this is why they want to disqualify Ruby Dala, is because they're not looking for somebody to rebuild the Liberal Party. They're looking for somebody to dismantle the country. They're looking for somebody to continue along with the corrupt nonsense approach that Canada has. The good news, folks, the good news silver lining, if you watched last night's stream, if you watched yesterday's video, we were saying that this is all just malarkey right now. It's all nonsense. We still have to stay vigilant as a country. We have to make sure that we get out and vote. We have to make sure we do our part when it comes time to vote federally. But when it comes to these polls, when it comes to all the propaganda rolling around on the internet, it's important to remember that Ontario is in a provincial election right now. So people's favorability when it comes to these polls could be skewed. And once Mark Carney, I was going to say once a leader's chosen, but we all know it's going to be Mark Carney. Once Mark Carney gets in and starts speaking, I'm going to have another video about that one. You'll notice that things will change in those polls. I think Canadians can no longer afford to vote for DEI, for climate change, for woke policies, because they can't afford to feed themselves. They can't afford their rent. They can't live anymore. They need to vote for a government that's going to actually bring in change and not more corruption and unaffordability. I think people won't have a choice when it comes to the polls. But again, I don't count anything until an election happens. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you believe this is all a setup? Do you think that Ruby Dala is going to get the punt? Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about Trump derangement syndrome, if it's real and alive in Canada. Give me your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you click that button, you hit the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel this Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show, where we go over everything that we talked about this week in politics and everything we know that's coming up ahead in politics, while I'm joined by the very beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we chat with you, the greatest YouTube community on the platform, to hear what you have to say outside of making these videos. We both look forward to hearing what you have to say inside of those streams, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.